Abby.
I'm Anna.
I'm Gawada.
Hi, I'm Harveen, and today we're going to talk about the sun.
This presentation will be looking at the newspaper industry, providing a comprehensive profile of the Sun and looking at the customer-based brand equity model. We will also be providing recommendations to increase the brand's equity.
In 1964, The Sun was first published, and in 1969, Rupert Murdoch of News Corp relaunched the paper as a tabloid. As you can see here, News UK is the dominant newspaper publisher in the UK, but the Daily Mail and the General Trust are not far behind. News Corporation owns all of these businesses, but its subsidiary for the UK market, which is News UK, owns The Times, The Sun, and TLS. When you look at the UK's newspaper circulation market in general, you can see that the print industry since 2008 has steadily been decreasing, but the online market for newspapers has had a 235% increase since 2009. And this is a pretty strong indicator that the market is seeing a pretty rapid change from going from print now onto online. So if you look at the market share, at the moment, The Sun still holds the most of the market, and within its own category of popular newspapers, so in this case sort of tabloids, you can see that the Daily Mirror is second up in that segment. But if you look at the mid-market papers, the Daily Mail is only just about 6% shy of the Sun's market share. So this is an indication that there could be other factors like online, which I'll mention in a second, that are playing upon how the market's changing. So if you look at the Sun demographics, the National Readership Survey for 2014 showed that the majority of readers are men, and although you have quite a large population of 65 and older reading the Sun newspaper, it sort of averages out between 35 and 64 years of age are your main readers. And then if you look at social demographics, the National Readership Survey also says that the majority of people that are reading are the C2DE class, which is primarily sort of the working class. So when you consider newspapers in general, one of the trends you really need to consider as this market is seeing a rapid shift in the online direction is your online news accessible? So at the moment, 41% of people in the UK access their news from websites or their mobile and tablet applications. And your younger demographic of about 16 to 24, which is really the industry's most important demographic that they need to be focusing on, because as they age, they're the ones that are bringing the technology forward. They're 40% more likely than those 55 years or older to access the news on a mobile device. So something the newspapers need to think about as they're moving online is how are you putting your news online and how are you ultimately going to profit? So there are three options. You can have free access to your news, you can have a metered paywall, or you can have a full paywall. So with a free, you're looking at papers like the Mirror Online, the Guardian, and the Mail Online. Free papers usually get their money from advertising, and they'll also use things like social networking like Facebook and Twitter to act as sort of a filter between how people are accessing their news. You can also have a metered paywall, which is the Times, so another News UK paper uses this, or the Telegraph, which means you're given about between 7 to 10 stories for free that you can access online, and then the site will ask you to pay a subscription if you'd like to access the site content even more. And then your last one is a full paywall. So this is what the Sun does, and this is a full subscription. So unless you pay for the Sun online, you cannot access their stuff online. So if you look at the UK's online market, you can see that the Daily Mail is #1. And if you look at the Sun, you can see that since they issued their 2013 paywall, they've had about a 60% decrease in online visits. So this is not only a factor in terms of the Sun's readership, but it's been a really big contributing factor to how some of its competitor papers, like the Mirror, have seen a 50% increase in online visits because they've been offering their content online. It's also important to notice that the Daily Star, which although still has quite a low market share, has had a 163% increase in their online activity. Another trend to consider when thinking of the Sun is its infamous page 3. So this has stirred a lot of controversy, especially as of late, if the Sun is using glamorous fashionistas, which is what they like to call them, or is it topless models. So there's been a lot of campaigns, and particularly the No More Page 3 campaign, that's asked for the Sun to voluntarily remove these images instead of having to go through government censorship. So really, regardless if you agree with the campaign or you agree with the Sun, the whole controversy has has allowed a lot of publicity, and it's been a smart marketing tool, if you will. Regarding the Sun in recent news, it would be the 2011 News of the World phone hacking scandal. So in 2011, prior to 2011, the News of the World dominated the sort of news on Sunday market, and then when they closed in 2011, there was an absence in the market, and this is where the Mirror and the Daily Mail took over that portion of the market, as you can see on this graph. But it was sort of said that the News of the World closing was a reason to open the Sun on Sunday, and so News UK sort of rebranded what was the News of the World into the Sun on Sunday. And when that came out in 2012, you can see here that it pretty much took over the market. But it is important to note that the Mail on Sunday is not too far behind in the market share, and this again could be an indication of the fact that everything's moving online and the Sun is still sitting behind its paywall online, and it may be dominant in the print industry, but it's seeing a rapid decline in its online market.
So the main colours used are obviously red and white. Red symbolises lust and anger, two things that the Sun can relate to. Lust is in page 3 and it provides anger for its controversial story. The main colours used in the logo are red and white are also the colours that are used mainly throughout the paper. The red and the white is also used by the Daily Mirror and the Daily Star, as they both have the same types of logo. However, they can be differentiated through the actual font used, as the Sun used a Franklin Gothic heavy italicized font. Another thing that we can find is that the Sun is quite a short name, which might make it easier for its target audience to remember it, and also is easier for brand recallation.
The Sun has many characteristics, both good and bad. One of the main features is that it is a gossip paper and focuses predominantly on celebrity news. It is also known as an easy reading paper compared to other newspapers available on the market, such as broadsheets. The Sun uses slang and colloquial language to connect with its target audience and is designed for entertainment purposes. However, it is a very opinionated and biased paper.
Based on Jennifer Akers' brand personality model, we can see that the Sun actually mainly fits the personality of excitement. Who would have thought it? But the Sun actually provides the traits of being daring, imaginative and up to date. Other traits that it does also fit are the successful and sometimes cheerful news. However, it does need to fit the personalities of sincerity, competence and sophisticated, as the Sun has two major trademarks. The first one being page 3 and the second one being its cheap holidays for £9.50. So page 3 began in 1970 and has been running for almost 45 years. It has launched the careers of people such as Katie Price, also known as Jordan, and it represents mainly the target audience, which are the men.
The Sun has one of the lowest pricing strategies on the market. You only need 40p per day to buy the paper, not one of these. It also doesn't offer a weekly subscription of print, which many other newspapers do, so this could limit their market. In 2013, the Sun have introduced a paywall to their online content. This means viewers now have to pay a monthly charge to view their content. This has limited their market. Their views have actually gone down since the introduction of this in 2013 from 5 million to 2 million. They use a lot of word of mouth communication to relay their message about the paper, so this means they rely a lot on everyday people to spread their message. Also in their advertising, they use a lot of humour, and this is involved in adverts such as the iPhone parody. They also have a predominant theme that uses everyday people like you and I to promote their paper.
Distribution of the Sun. The Sun is actually distributed and can be bought from all the major supermarkets. This means that it has high brand awareness, as it can be found anywhere. However, there are places such as Liverpool which has refused to sell or stock the newspaper due to an article that was run about the Hillsborough victims.
The Sun has used various in-market strategies. This includes stuff like cheap holidays for £9.50, which involves collecting 10 tokens over 10 weeks in order to receive the holiday. They also do stuff like celebrity endorsement, which involves Jamie Oliver, and they also have 3 for 2 theme park tickets to places like that.
So what is the main target audience of the Sun? Well, the paper is only 40p, which makes it affordable by everyone, including its main target audience, the working class. Most of the stories are all celebrity culture, which are mainly famous for doing nothing. These show that most of its target audience want to be famous without any goals or any aspirations. Another aspect we can see is that it's very male-orientated. It's for the page 3 and there is a large section of sports. The advertisers use the newspaper can also be seen to target the working class, such as Asda, Sainsbury's, Tesco's. They all were providing coupons, offers and special promotions.
The Daily Mail has the second highest market share. Although it is not a tabloid paper, it is the Sun's biggest competitor. Because it's not a tabloid, it is harder to compare. However, they do produce similar content such as celebrity gossip and are known for being biased and opinionated. In comparison, the Daily Mail charges higher prices for its paper and is also aimed at different target market, the middle class. In addition, they offer free access to online content and unlike the Sun, do not feature page 3. The Mirror is also a competitor, however this paper falls into the tabloid market and features a red top like the Sun. The Mirror has recently launched a campaign called Don't Say Stupid to portray the paper as a quality tabloid. Also, a lot of the content is focused towards women. Like the Daily Mail, the Mirror charges higher prices in comparison to the Sun.
So to analyze the relationship between customer and the Sun brand, we will adapt customer-based brand equity pyramid by Keller. This analysis will show how customer perceives the Sun brand and what expected lives in consumer minds. Every block of customer-based brand equity pyramid has subgroups which include, for example, in salience section, category, identification, and needs satisfied. Or when talking about imagery block, it clarifies user profiles, purchases and usage, situations, personality and values, history, heritage, and experiences. So this is only 2 of 6 blocks that we explain. So that means if doing detailed analysis of customer-based brand equity pyramid, it will analyze brand equity in depth and will show how customer builds its relationship with the brand. When analyzing the Sun brand by Keller's customer-based brand pyramid, the salience must exist. The salience tells the range of sales, which in this case is 2 million copies sold every day. Moreover, the Sun's performance have increased in their social media, such as Facebook. They have 1,777,000 likes, and in Twitter account they have 703,000 followers. So overall readership is very high. It's just the printed copies, copy sales is slowly decreasing. It's only because of the demand to gather news online. Recently, because of this increased amount of internet readership, the editors of Sun newspaper decided to charge people who read their online website. This negatively affected the Sun's readership and also led the regular readers to switch and read online news somewhere else. For example, Daily Mail got more of the online readers. So when talking about imagery blog, the Sun newspaper is treated to be very popular because of its customer service innovation. The editors decided to implement and create live chats and social media where customers can express their experiences and likes, dislikes about the paper. Editors decided to take these actions when the online website was a charge for online readership. Overall, people usually read newspapers to gather latest news or for political updates, but we suppose that the Sun is very popular in gossips and celebrity section within women and in sports and maybe media section within men. We recognize that because of this, the layout also is very important because the Sun includes a lot of pictures and eye-catching headlines. Also, in our questionnaire, we asked people to provide their opinion how important are the attributes that we provided considering the Sun newspaper. Majority of respondents said that the most of the attributes are extremely unimportant or neutral. However, headlines are one of the attributes that is very important to the readers. So, here is the information about the majority of respondents, why they still read daily newspapers. So the top ideas are that they still prefer the experience of reading print newspaper than reading the news online, or newspapers should be allowed to write about whatever they want. This table is provided to support people attitudes towards newspaper reading preferences. In this case, we suppose that younger generations will stop reading print newspapers and will switch to online sources. So editors should concentrate more on online websites for the future generations. According to the graph on the right, we found out that most popular attributes when considering the Sun newspaper is sensationalist, misleading, lightweight, entertaining, and biased. Some of them are recognized to be positive, like entertaining and sensationalist, but for example, lightweight is negative because basically it means that the Sun is treated to be very uninformative compared to other papers. Also, when considering reliability, trustworthy, authority, the Sun has a very low ratings, and we think the Sun should try to implement these misgaps. This also would help them to increase their reputation. We know that it's very good, but still it could be increased. Finally, because the Sun is UK's most popular newspaper, we suppose that it definitely reaches the resonance of Keller's customer base brand equity pyramid. The Sun is trying to keep its newspaper different, as notice their layout and headlines are different and more loose. But this is what their target audience wants, and if they change it, it might affect the readership. Also, the Sun had a decrease in daily readership while internet and the print newspapers. To fix this problem, the editors concerned more on online readers. So they are very popular because within the group of people aged 15 to 35. Also, they provided all customer feedbacks online, so readers could build better trust on the Sun brand. So all these factors are very important considering Keller's customer base brand equity pyramid.
Recommendations of the Sun. Recommendation number one. Recommendation number one is to actually change the reputation of the paper. PR Week found that the Sun had the worst reputation, and this can be due to the headlines and both the phone hacking scandal from its sister paper, News of the World. 72% of people are actually aware of the phone hacking scandal, and 51% of people found that the events actually damaged the reputation of print newspapers overall. So from our primary research, using the fishbone model, we actually found that reputation was the second highest attribute that people considered when purchasing a newspaper. And out of all three of the papers, the Sun actually had the worst reputation. However, our primary research could be criticised because we were comparing the Sun, the Times and the Daily Mail, and all three types of papers cannot be categorised the same. So how could the Sun build a positive reputation? There are a couple of ways that they could go about it. They could introduce possibly corporate social responsibility, or funding local football clubs, or even funding local projects that will help younger children. This will give people an emotional attachment to the brand. They can also improve their reputation by appealing more to the target audience of women, as it is mainly male dominated. So adding segments such as makeup or beauty related things will actually help boost it. They could also add columnists such as Karen Brady, as she is a very strong independent role model for women, and that will also give them a good and better secondary association with the brand, as people would think Karen Brady, she's a very great woman and very powerful, and then if they think about that in relation to the Sun, it will provide them a very positive image. They should also attempt to try and get better journalists as part of their team, journalists which are not biased and do not provide an opinionated view on their stories. So this could mean getting journalists that may have written for more respected newspapers such as The Times, The Daily Telegraph. As the journalist that writes for these sort of types of papers, they always provide a rounded opinion, and people reading stories by these types of journalists might feel more open to accept the articles, may feel they're more reliable and also more honest. It will also give them a better secondary association, as people think that their stories are more reliable and they will associate The Sun with more reliable journalists. The Sun should also get rid of their paywall, as it will give it a better reputation and more people would want to read their news stories online. By them targeting the female audience, it does mean that they would have to reposition their brand, as most of the brand is targeting the male audience, and by targeting the females they would have to reposition it, and this would mean that they would maybe get a wider range of audience to purchase their newspaper and higher brand awareness, and this would lead to a better brand equity. Recommendation number two. Recommendation number two is the headlines. Obviously, from our primary research, we did find that headlines were the most influential attribute when purchasing a newspaper, and again, The Sun did rate the worst against the Daily Mail and the Times. Obviously, we want better headlines in The Sun, however, we don't want to reposition it, as it is a tabloid and it is not a broadsheet, so maybe not more headlines on economic or business news, however just more headlines on general news that is going on around in the UK. Another thing, we did find that the paper is quite lightweight and that it's very biased and opinionated headlines, so maybe less of the biasness and less of the opinionated headlines and have more substance in their stories. This can be done from introducing better journalists, again mentioned before, that will provide a well-rounded view that is not opinionated or biased, and this will mean that they can be seen as honest and reliable, and that they can have a better brand equity and a better reputation.
In conclusion, we found that The Sun has strong brand equity despite its negative reputation and has profited very well in the declining print industry. Thanks for watching!